Hi! So today's video, as you would have seen from the title, it's about reading singlit books. So singlit is basically Singaporean lit. So I have 4 books over here, which is kind of my tentative TBR. I guess I'll see along the way whether I will stop at 3 books or I will get another book from the library that is singlit as well, and then we will have 5 books depending on the length of the vlog, I think. So the first book which I am currently reading and actually almost done with is 17A Keong Sik Road. I don't think I said that correctly, but yeah, this is by Charmaine Leong, who is a Singaporean author. This is actually her personal story about growing up in 17A Keong Sik Road. So let me read you the synopsis. 17A Keong Sik Road recounts Charmaine Leong's growing up years on Keong Sik Road in the 1970s when it was a prominent red light precinct in Chinatown in Singapore. An interweaving of past and present narratives, 17A Keong Sik Road tells of her mother's journey as a young child put up for sale to becoming the madam of a brothel in Keong Sik. Unfolding her story as the daughter of a brothel operator and witnessing these changes to her family, Charmaine traces the transformation of the Keong Sik area from the 1930s to the present, and through writing finds reconciliation. Oh my gosh, this was actually based on a recommendation on Instagram. It's so good. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I did not know anything about this particular road and the red light precinct. The description of Singaporean food in the past that's still present to this day, and description of the customs and the traditions that the family follows, her stories of the various people in her life is just so interesting to read about. It's helping me to learn more about my own country as well, like our history and things like that. So I'm currently at page 188 out of 270 around there. So yeah, I'm like this much left. For example, the food that was mentioned was like cui gui and tau hui and the zi cha style kind of food. It's just, oh my gosh. There is also illustrations of, I believe, the road and the buildings around there. Not a lot, but it's like some that are interspersed in the story. For example, this one over here. So it's super pretty, and yeah, this is a library copy. I will give you more thoughts on this when I finish it. The second one has been kindly sent to me by the author, The Punkawala and the Prostitute. Yes, so pretty, right, this book? Oh my gosh. It's like the finalist for the 2021 Epigram Books Fiction Prize. So this one is about behind the golden facade of a land filled with opportunities, there are 2 destitute souls shipped to Singapore in the late 1800s. Oseki, an ingenue forced into prostitution as a karayuki, grapples with being betrayed by her own father and transforms into a monster she can't recognize. Gobin, a deaf convict from India, serves his sentence as a punkawala to a British hunter obsessed with killing Rimal Satan, a man-eating tiger of mythic proportions. Whenever Gobin hunts with his master, his butchered memories lurk in the darkness, aching to pounce. When Oseki's and Gobin's paths intertwine, they begin to face their inner demons to find their humanity and their way back home. So do we have this one over here? One thing about this is that it's technically non-fiction, and if you know me, you know that I don't really read non-fiction. The only non-fiction that I've enjoyed is Toto-chan, which I have, and Crying in H-Mart. So this is the 3rd non-fiction that I am actually enjoying. So yeah, that's a great thing for me because maybe I am slowly finding non-fiction that I actually enjoy. Next, we have Sugar Bread by Bali Carl Jaswal. Oh my god, I'm so sorry that I'm butchering everything in this video. This is the finalist for the 2015 Epigram Books Fiction Prize. Pin must not become like her mother, but nobody will tell her why. She seeks clues in mass cooking when she's not fighting other battles, being a bursaries girl at an elite school and facing racial taunts from the bus uncle. Then her meddlesome grandmother moves in, installing a portrait of a watchful Sikh guru and a new set of house rules. Old secrets begin to surface, but can Pin handle learning the truth? This is the next one. And last but not least, we have If It Were Up to Mrs. Dada by Carissa Fu. This book over here. This I actually got in a previous vlog. I will try to find it and link it up above for you. This one is the thinnest out of them all. So this is about, today is National Day. It is also Cheryl Dada's birthday. She pokes her nose into everybody's business as they prepare for the celebration. She is vaguely aware of a strange man who keeps talking to her, the migrant workers who hang around the home, and her fellow residents who seem less enthusiastic about the big day. Slowly, she discovers how her life converges with theirs, even as she begins to learn who she is. This is my tentative TBR for this particular vlog over here. So stay tuned and I will give you more updates as we go along. It has been a few days since I finished 17A Kyungsik Road and I really enjoyed it. Oh my gosh. I'm so amazed because it's another non-fiction that I actually enjoy. Like, oh my gosh, yes, and it's by a Singaporean author. Okay, so I don't rate non-fiction, so I do not have a rating for it, but just rest assured that it's going to be a high one if I were to rate it. So good. In my previous clip when I was talking about this book, I think I didn't talk about how I also got to learn more about like the different religious customs. So for example, like Taoist customs and Chinese traditions, things like that, and it's something that I do see in my daily life as well, not to that extent, but some parts of it. So it was a very eye-opening experience to read about. I was thinking towards the end, I was thinking how the author would end this, and the author ended it on such a beautiful note, and I was just like yes, like oh my gosh, the ending was so much better than what I expected it to be, because this is technically her personal story, so I don't know where she would put an end to her story in this book. But yeah, oh, it was so good. Oh my gosh, it's definitely one of my favorites now, and I would definitely recommend you to pick this up. It's so good. This is a library copy, so I would have to return this to the library soon, but oh my gosh, yeah, it's so good. I really enjoyed learning about the different characters, even though I kind of forgot a few characters towards the end, but I mean, it's fine. I enjoyed it while reading it, and oh my gosh, it's so good. Singlit! Yes, I'm so proud. Oh my gosh, I have no idea which of the books I'm going to pick up next, so I think I'll just update when I do so. So yeah. Hi, so I haven't given you an update on the fact that I was reading this actually, The Formidable Miss Cassidy, but I have since finished it because these few days have been a bit busy and I was rushing to finish the book before my library loan was due. Let me just tell you now that I just finished it. Okay, so this one, in 1890s Singapore, the formidable Miss Leda Cassidy arrives as paid companion to Sarah Jane Bendemeer, whose family suffers under the thrall of Southeast Asia's most terrifying hantu. But there's more to Miss Cassidy than meets the eye, and she's faced down worse in her life than a Pontianak. However, she may have met her match in the indefatigable businessman, Mr. K. Wing Tong, whose large and constantly growing family clearly requires female supervision, especially of the particular kind Miss Cassidy can provide. Ill omens and strange happenings around Mr. K and his colourful family, and Miss Cassidy must find a way to defend the ones she has learned to love. So I'm currently feeling very sad that I didn't go down for that time. Epigram did like a event where you could go down and just choose any book for free, because this book was there and I've enjoyed this book so much. Do you see my tabs? 1, 2, 3, 4. It's so good. This one is kind of like a fantasy historical fiction based on the myths that I have heard as I was growing up about like Pontianaks and things like that, but they come to life in this story, and it's just oh my gosh, I'm so amazed at how good the writing is and how if a fantasy novel can be done based on the cultural myths in Singapore, my own country. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy. I feel like this might be one of my favorite singlets from now on because of how good the plot was. Basically, this story has 3 parts and we kind of don't really know who Miss Cassidy is. It's just like a vague understanding until like the very end. So I'm not gonna spoil anything about that. But I love that we see her going through different encounters and experiences in Singapore with the first family and then the second family, the place where she ends up in the last part, and it's like oh my gosh, and there's like romance in here. There's like the topic of feet binding in China and how it used to be practiced in I think Singapore as well. It made me learn more about my own country also, which I'm very happy to do, while still maintaining that tone of a fantasy novel with historical fiction elements, and I'm just like so happy. Oh my gosh. So overall I gave it 4.5 stars, and yeah, I think it's gonna be one of my favorites. 2 out of 2 of the books that I've read so far in this video have been so good. Oh my gosh, both are my favorites so far. I don't know how to rank them. I shall think about it some more, but it's the co-winner of the 2021 Epigram Books Fiction Prize. Now I'm curious to find out what the other winner for 2021 was. But yeah, oh my gosh, I'm like so amazed. I hope the author Mehan Bowley releases more works in the future because I'm very excited to read more from the author. And there's talks about like arranged marriages, how it has impacted society in the past and things like that. There's talks of like interracial marriages also. Due to the pressures of society back then, people just weren't gonna have a good time if they actually had interracial marriages. So a lot of very important issues were raised. Please read this book, please. Oh my gosh, it's so good. I'm gonna take out my library tabs now and then I'll return this book to the library because it's due tomorrow. And yeah, I'll update you when I start on the next book for this video. Hi, so the previous clip was last filmed in 2022 September. Now it is end April of 2023. I have been obviously falling behind on this video and reading singlit in general. I kind of put this video aside because I was focusing on other videos, but now I'm finally back and I actually changed my TBR a bit for this one. I originally wanted this to be a 5-book singlit reading vlog, but I have since acquired another singlit book, so now there is a total of 6. So I think I'm just gonna split it into 2 videos. So this video will only have 3 books and then the next video will only have 3 books as well. I think that's better because then the video will be shorter and then I can produce another video also. So the book that I'm currently reading, I am actually 82 pages in. It is actually Work-Life Balance, Malevolent Managers and Folkloric Freelancers by Benjamin Chi and Wayne Rie. I'm so sorry if I pronounced that wrongly. So thank you so much to Difference Engine SG for sending this copy to me. They actually also sent me Bearing Witness, which they asked me to host a giveaway for. I didn't think about this video at the time, so I didn't include that. This book is quite interesting because Benjamin's comics and Wayne's prose in this book. So it's like mixed media format. For example, this is like the comic book portion and this is the prose portion. It intertwines in this collection to bring you familiar Asian mythology in an even more familiar setting, the realm of dead-end work, glass ceilings, and truly hellish bosses. When a menacing multinational arrives on our shores, familiar creatures like Pontianaks, Mananangals, Rakshashis and Bajiaoguis are forced out of their jobs. Some give in and sign up for mundane corporate life, but others would rather fight than join the broken-spirited hordes of the desk-bound. So far, I am 82 pages in out of a total of 191. So what I've learned so far from this story is about the different Asian mythology so far and how they are just functioning, going about their daily lives, being immersed in the Singaporean culture basically, because it talks about, for example, they'll walk past this building that's being constructed in Raffles Place or this shop house in Tiong Bahru, and it's just like, oh my gosh, that is so interesting. And what has happened so far is basically this multinational corporation called the Companies acquiring local companies, kind of like how big companies would like to convince those local landowners to sign a contract to hand over their land to them in exchange for monetary compensation, for example. We're just getting into the part where some have signed on to join their company and then work as a corporate worker. I'm doing such a bad job of explaining this, but that's where I'm at so far, and I just came in to update about how I'm feeling about it. Generally quite interesting concept because I've never thought about it in this way before, like Asian mythology can be combined with work. Okay, so far out of the 3 books, right, I find it really interesting that this and The Formidable Life of Miss Cassidy involve Asian mythology. Both have so different perspectives or angles at which they approach their story. I'm really glad I'm doing this video because it gives me more insight into singlit in general, and I'll update again once I have more thoughts or once I finish the book because it's not a long read at all. So yeah, see you there. Hi, so a few things. Please ignore this. I'm going overseas tomorrow, so I'm kind of in the middle of packing and everything. You can see my penguin over there. Change of a setting, I guess, to spice things up. So I just finished Work-Life Balance, Malevolent Managers and Folkloric Freelancers. After I finished, I continued flipping the pages, right? Then I noticed that there's kind of a glossary of all the folklore that has been mentioned in this book, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I should have read this part first. So let me just show you a few of the illustrations, okay? So it explains, for example, what Pontianaks are, what the person has heard and what the person has learned. And it's so funny because, for example, what I've learned, right? I'm sure she's feasted on blood and entrails in her day, but I've mostly seen her go for iced coffee and burgers. Oh my god. Yeah, it's really, really super cool. And at the very end, the author and illustrator run through how they kind of worked on this piece together, with one working on prose and other basing the illustrations on the prose, like oh my gosh. And then it shows their whole process. At the very end, there is this excerpt from the company's employee handbook as well as office culture and helpful hints. And it's like the funniest thing because, for example, it will say, be considerate when using the fridge. If you eat your colleague's sandwich, don't be surprised when they eat you. Ensure proper email etiquette. If you don't misuse the word revert at least once a week, you may face disciplinary action. And it's just like, oh my gosh, this is really like office culture infused with folklore and mythology, exactly what this book was trying to achieve. I found that really interesting at the very end. But okay, in terms of like the plot and stuff, I was kind of lost in the middle and towards the end because of the mixed format, right? Sometimes the story, when it switches from prose to illustrations, I can't tell whether it's like a continuation of the prose but in comic format or is repeating the prose in comic format, if you get what I mean. So I found it a little bit disjointed and a little bit hard to follow, but after that, once I got used to it, it became a bit better. But I felt like there could have been more room for character development in terms of the relationships between each character and the development of each character, because this book is rather thin. It's only like 192 pages around there, so I didn't really spend a lot of time developing each character and, for example, why they decided to quit the company, why they, for example, decided to join a rebellion group. It doesn't really explain much, it just tells you what's happening, if that makes sense. So it's more of telling rather than showing, which I would appreciate more showing. Oh, I forgot to give trigger warnings. Trigger warnings for implied domestic abuse in this story. Other than that, the mythology is still very much infused in like the office culture because you have these folkloric people basically working in a company. So I guess it's kind of infused, but I don't know, I appreciated the humor at the very last few pages while I was telling you just now more. So in the end, I decided to give this 3.25 stars. If you need any reason to like pick up this book at all, it's really just go look at the illustrations. They are so well done. For example, this is just one strip, okay? So pretty. And if you're kind of like not very much into reading yet and you are interested in starting from somewhere, this can be a good starting point because it infuses a lot of the comics inside and it's not just words, you know, so it's kind of like more interesting in a sense. So yes, and I also again very much appreciated the focus on singlit and how Singapore landmarks are being named. The myths are also kind of very much perpetuating in Singapore as well. With that brings me to the end of this video. I have no idea how long this video is gonna be. Overall, I would say this video was kind of a success because 2 out of 3 became my favorites of all time. The last one also kind of like introduced me to a new genre wherein there is a mixture of both comics and prose, which is so interesting. So I hope this format persists in future and I will be interested in picking up books from this author again if given the opportunities. Thank you so much to Difference Engine SG for sending me this. I still very much appreciate singlit and I'm excited to read it. So I still have 3 more books on my shelves that I can read for a singlit video in future. Don't know when that will happen. Very much feel proud that singlit is still very much a thing and hopefully it grows bigger in the future. If you reached to this point in the video, comment a Singapore flag because singlit. I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed, please give this video a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my channel for more of such content. I hope you're having a great day or a great week whenever or wherever you're watching. Remember to stay hydrated and I'll see you in my next video.